What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. This is James Hodggren with the Millionaire Mac Club. I got another Millionaire Mac talk with y'all, and I have a very special guest today, and I'll let her do her own intro so she does the justice for it. So, Erika, you can take it away.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here on your platform, James. Everybody, my name is Erika, and I'm here from the San Francisco Yay area, more by Berkeley. But I'm just here sharing my story and excited to get to know a little bit more about you and just seeing where we go from here.
All right. So, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do for work? I know that you have some partners that you work with, so tell us a little bit about the company.
Okay, cool. So what I do for work is I help make sure families, people are prepared financially for the crazy things that happen. I mean, we know this past, year and a half has been unexpected craziness. Like no one ever saw a global pandemic coming down. Am I right?
Right.
And, it hurts so many people financially, especially those who end up like in hospitals and who got sick with COVID and those who passed away. Them and their families are kind of left in a really bad situation sometimes. So I try to help everybody. If any of those things happen, I try to help everybody be prepared. And so what I do, I help people make sure they have coverage, like as far as one thing is life insurance. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people don't like talking about that because they think like, oh, I'm planning to die or whatever. But it's really not the case because we know lots of people don't plan for it. It's going to happen.
Right.
We just don't know when. We don't know when. And I could tell you a little bit about my story, how I got into this. Mm-hmm. I want to say 20. I was 20 and I was like, just like you, in college, working, like just doing my thing, loving life, your average college student. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, as I was working out, because I worked out maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So as I was working out, I just could feel like something was wrong. Like I could just feel like something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. And it got so bad to the point that I decided to go see the doctor. And what the doctor told me was he said that I had a leukemia. So basically have a blood cancer. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was caught us so off guard because I look healthy. I'm working out all the time. I eat okay. But, it just really caught us all off guard. And it was nothing I could have prepared for. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, my mom was the smart one who thought ahead. And she had insurances for me and for herself. And one of the things it covered was for cancer. Ooh. And thankfully, I had that because during that time, you're back and forth to the hospital. You're, ill, you're not feeling well. So working and how to pay your bills, like how to pay your rent should not be the first thing on your mind during that time. Like, obviously it's important, but I feel like from the situation that I had, that when someone is going through something like that, their first concern should be, how can I get better? Like, how could I be here to have a longer, healthier life with my family? Mm-hmm. And stressing about how I'm going to pay my bills and how am I going to afford food and how can I, especially people who have like a spouse, kids, like how can I take care of them and how can I put my children through school? Stressing about things like that is not going to help you have a healthier nor happier life. Right. So that's something else that I put into my company was making sure that we cover all kinds of critical illnesses. Mm. So it could be cancer, it could be heart attack, it could be stroke. I mean, all of the big hitters, we make sure that people are covered for it because we really never know. Like I said, I was 20 and the thought of me getting cancer was like, what? Like, absolutely could never happen. Like, I'm young and healthy. And so I try to just convey to other young and healthy people, like, great. Number one, try to stay healthy, like live a lifestyle that will help you try to stay healthy, but also just in case something does happen, make sure that you're prepared for yourself and for your family.
Exactly. Like keep some sharp tools and always be prepared. Stay ready so you don't got to get ready.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how does the process work through your company? Because you said that your clients get coverage and such. So do they pay like a monthly like payment, or how does that work?
So it works in a couple different ways. One way is they could choose to do a monthly payment. And usually for young people, it's really cheap. Like, it's really cheap because it's usually based off age and health. Yeah. So for young people, that's when it's the best to get it. But they could also choose to pay like twice a year or annually. And it'll just be like that monthly payment, but just like in a lump sum. Mm-hmm. And either way is good, whatever fits someone's budget. I try to make sure that I help everyone stay in their budget, but also get the coverage that they need.
Okay. So in terms, because I've heard about some other like insurance policies and such, can people borrow against their insurance policy? Is that a thing?
Sure can. Okay. Yep. So with insurance, there are so many different kinds. Mm-hmm. So you have something like whole life. And whole life is the one that you can borrow from for any reason. Like, it builds up a cash value. And then sometime down the years, if you have enough cash value, you can use it to buy a car. You can use it for really whatever you want. And that is the good thing. Now, there's another kind of insurance that's term insurance. Mm-hmm. Now, the difference between term and whole life is that term has a set date. It could be like you're covered for 10, 20, maybe 30 years. And that has its pros because usually it costs much less. Because obviously it has a short term. So for someone who has a smaller budget, I would usually recommend doing something like a high coverage with term. And then as their needs change, as they get older, then we could always go back and edit it. Mm-hmm. To make sure they get everything that they need.
All right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's awesome. So which one do you typically recommend, or is it like case by case?
It kind of is case by case by budget. Like, let's be real here. Let's be real here. Because whole life is going to cost so much more than term is, because whole life lasts usually until you're 120. Mm. And so the chances of you, let's say, passing in the next 30 years versus between your 120 is completely different. Like, statistically speaking, 120, we're not going to make it that long. But right. 30 years, we might make it that long. So that's why it works that way. But either one is really good. So let's say if I have someone young who has a smaller budget, but they have a wife and kids. Mm-hmm. Someone like that, I would say, let's start off with term. Let's get you a higher amount, whether it be like 100,000 to 300,000. Some families even could afford up to $1 million. And like, that's great. Like, you're covered for $1 million, let's say, for the next 30 years. Right. So whether it be a car accident, COVID, whatever comes, your family would have that to live off of. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say I have someone who's older and really doesn't have as much bills. Their house is kind of paid off. Their kids are grown. They may not need $1 million worth of coverage. Right. Now, they need something, but they won't need as much. So it kind of is based off of the situation. Now, if there's a younger person and they have a bigger budget, then I would definitely say 100% go either an index universal life or a whole life if they have that in their budget, because that is something that once they have the policy, it lasts as long as they keep paying the bill. Okay, I'll say that, I'll throw that in there. As long as they keep paying it, they'll have it until they're 100, 120. So right. That's the best option that exists. And the other good thing about it is that for someone who is in that situation and doesn't have coverage, let's say for illnesses and stuff like that, some policies actually have it to where if you get cancer or heart attack or get paralyzed, that you could actually use the money from your policy to be able to live off of. Mm-hmm. So instead of like making multiple payments, you just make the one payment and it covers so many different things. And that's something I recommend to everyone. That's my first go-to, because within these next few years, statistically speaking, we're more likely to get an illness than to pass away, but it's good to be covered for both.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So through your situation, you're in your 20s. I remember you told me you were doing modeling, you were training, all this. So what's the biggest thing you learned from your situation?
The biggest thing I learned from your situation was to enjoy every moment.
Tell me more. Because that's powerful right there.
Because we always, especially as young people, we always assume the moments are going to keep coming. Like we always assume like, hey, we good, right? Like we're invisible, like nothing's coming for me. But enjoy every moment and like learn to forgive, learn to love, like learn to just find the mixture of like grinding, working hard, preparing for the future, but then also enjoying the now.
Embracing the moment, right?
Exactly. Because for me, my situation, like it's a condition I still have, like it still affects me to this day. Mm-hmm. So if I would have known, like, if I would have known back then, I would have anything else. But those are the things I would change, and obviously be prepared, because my situation would have been completely different, especially for a situation for someone who, wouldn't be able to afford to live on their own. I mean, if like something happened to you, let's say you got cancer and I handed you a check for like $40,000. Do you think like that would change your situation a little bit?
40,000 with cancer? I don't know. Yeah.
It would. Yeah. It would. Yeah. Because a lot of people, like, they have to take time off work, whether it be for chemo, whether it be for surgery, they have to take time off work. And if you're not working, guess what? Money's not coming in.
Yeah, right.
And so just getting a check like that, and it's your money, you could do whatever you want with it. I know someone, a coworker of mine, she knows someone who got a payout of like 190,000, right? 40,000. I'm like, I was on the low end. Okay. Right. But I know someone who got a payout of 190, went out the country, got treatment, got better, and still had money after. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's really life-changing, like on the small end to the big end, because like depending on your life expectancy is the percentage that you can get. So if you have $1 million policy, and let's say, all right, we'll give you 50%.
Come on now. Hey, go get you some life insurance.
Right? And this is for people who live. Right. Like, this is not even for someone who passes away. This is like for me right now, today, like tangible. Tangible. I don't even know if you saw, but I posted a check the other day online of someone who got a check. I think it was like 168,000 because they had a stroke. And it's just, this is real. Like, this is really happening. A lot of people number one, they don't know it exists.
Right. So wait, why do you think that is? Like, why aren't we hearing about this?
Because, bro, if I call you, hey, let's talk about life insurance, the automatic answer is, nah, I'm good. I don't need that. I got years. And they automatically shut the conversation off before it could even get good. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. So then, as somebody that that is living proof of how important this stuff is. Like, how do you break through the hard-headed people that are like, nah, I'm good, I'm living? Like, how do you get through to them?
I just try to tell stories.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, it's not my job to force you to do anything.
Right.
You know, every person has to make their own conscious decision to make a choice. So I can say, hey, you know, me, thankfully in my situation, I look healthy and I'm still able to do lots of things. I'm able to live a great life. And like I said, I'm able to enjoy, you know, all my minutes of life. However, like, you know, there are those, like, let's say I had a relative pass away at 21 in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
I had a relative which I don't even want to start like going into all the stories, but, you know, just telling stories of people like who are younger, like getting cancer, who are younger catching strokes, who are younger getting all of the things that we look at like, oh, that's for old people. Like, I worry about that when I get old. I even had this lady, she was 66 or something like that. And I called her and I was like, hey, you know, I'll just give you a call about, you know, you put in wanted some information for life insurance. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I'm only 66. I'm not ready to talk about this yet. And literally hung up on me though. And I was just like, ma'am, like 66 is still young. My father is, I think he's 84 now. So 66 is still young. Right. I'm like, and that's a blessing that you're able to live that long. But at some point, it's time to start thinking ahead. It's time to start thinking like, okay, if this situation happens, then, you know, where would I be? Where would my family be? I mean, even me, like, I'm already thinking about kids I don't even have yet. Like, because I have like $200,000 of life insurance on myself. And I was talking to my cousin and I'm like, dang, cousin, like, that's not enough. Like, I need more. But because of my condition, no one will give me more. Mm. So I'm like, you know, I'm brainstorming with her, like trying to figure out how I can get more coverage. She's like, you're fine. Like, yeah, because I'm married. She's like, your husband will be fine, you know, with 200,000. And I'm like, yeah, but like, if I end up having kids, like, I want them to have more money. And I'm like, I'm not pregnant. I'll be so far from kids, but I'm already thinking like, how can I make this happen for the future, for mine, even if it's not even for my own kids, whether it be for my nieces, my nephews, like my friends' kids, like, it's how can I help the generations that are coming below me?
Right. No, that's something that's so important that needs to be instilled in more people, because a lot of people are they're reacting instead of being prepared. And like, obviously, once something happens, you still react, but you don't react out of like, oh, fight, flight, or freeze. Like, no, you're prepared. So that's something that's super important that I don't know. Like, I don't know where that needs to be retaught, whether it's school, just parenting, or whatever it needs to be, but that needs to be changed, because that definitely is a reoccurring thing where people, oh, that'll never happen to me, until it happens to you. And even if it doesn't happen to you, so you're over prepared. Like, what's wrong with that?
Right. Like, what the worst thing that can happen is that you are over prepared. But the best thing that can happen is you will set you and your family up financially, like, for generations to come.
So then let's talk about that. Like, in a situation you are over prepared, can they still pull out a principal amount, or how's that work?
So for things like universal life or whole life, you could still pull out the money. You still would be able to. Now, for something like term, because it's so cheap, they're like, nah, like, we're giving you this money on a discount. It's basically discounted money that they sell.
Right, they're doing a favor.
Right, exactly. So someone could have a policy today and pass away in 2 months, and their family would get the entire amount. Even if, let's say, they paid $100 only, their family can get the entire amount that they were supposed to get. Mm-hmm. Like, nowhere else on this planet are you going to get a situation like that.
Right.
When I first, like my first week at work, I was just training. Like I didn't know nothing, right? We went and we talked to this couple, and the husband was like, "No, I'm good. I'll wait. I don't want it right now." And so, okay. Um, like I said, I can't force anyone. I can only give you the information.
Right.
Then literally, my mom told me not to say literally, but literally, like when I say literally, I mean I'm being literal, like not exaggerating, nothing. But literally 2 weeks later, because I was in a 3-week training. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks later, the wife called back and was like, "Oh, did my husband buy a policy from you guys?" And my manager was like, "No, he didn't get anything. Looked him up. He didn't get anything." He said, "No." She said he had already passed away.
What?
2 weeks later. All he had to say was yes and make one payment. Even let's say the payment, I think he was older. So let's say the payment was like $80 a month. His wife would have had thousands of dollars. So it's really a situation, like I said, it can change lives for years to come. I even talked to this one lady, and I was, giving her a call like, "Hey, are you interested in getting coverage for yourself?" And she says, "Oh, I can't afford to get coverage for myself." And I didn't even ask why, but she just says, "Because I'm still paying for my mom's funeral. I can't afford to cover myself." And I'm like, this is how the circle just keeps going over and over. Like the mom wasn't prepared. So now the daughter can't afford to get prepared. So now her children probably won't be able to get prepared. So it's just like the circle's not going to end. And I'm here to end the circle.
Oh, yeah, no, that reoccurring circle. You just see it so often, more times than not. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like a good prevention would cancel your Netflix and Hulu and put that somewhere that will actually benefit you in the long run. Mm-hmm. But because that money will come back around, but that's a whole nother thing. So I have a question. So do you have something that you live by, like a saying, a mantra, anything like that?
Oh, okay. I have a few, but I have to pick one.
No, you can just give me your top 3 or whatever, however many.
Okay. I want to say it's impossible until it's done. Because like when I got sick in in college, I was supposed to, the people I graduated, they're all doctors now. They all are they're everything I wanted to be. Right. And for this whole time, I kept telling myself, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do everything." So for like the past 10 years, I've been telling myself everything I can't do. But then at this point, I'm like, it's impossible until it's done. Like if I want something done, it's going to be impossible until I get there. Like until I put my mind there and tell myself I'm not stopping until I reach whatever goal it is going to be impossible.
Exactly.
If I keep telling myself that.
Exactly. Like if you're confirming that, then you're confirming like it. What's the other saying? Like the man who says that they can and the man who says they can't, they're both right or something like that. But
right.
Exactly. So what's the other thing you live by?
Another thing I live by is just really like being forgiving. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds so simple, but it
has to be though.
Yeah, it's so many things that happen in life that we might fall out with someone that we love off of miscommunication.
Right.
Or off of like just little simple stuff. So like learning to be forgiving and learning to forgive yourself is another big one. Like I still get mad at myself for like how I ate as a child. Like I get mad at like every piece of candy. I shouldn't have ate that. Maybe I wouldn't have ended up in this case if this, that, and the third. Like I still get mad at myself. I can get mad at others for things they've done to me. But being forgiving, I feel like is so important, and not for like the other person. Like, you know, if you make me mad, I can forgive you, but it's not about you. It's about my inner peace.
Right.
It's about not holding like hatred and resentment inside of me. Obviously, there's certain things that are unforgivable, but as far as, you know, with the regular stuff that people be falling out over and never talk again, like childhood friends never talk again, stuff like that is just, I don't know, it just, especially me having older parents, I feel like it's super important. Because holding on to that resentment and anger is not going to be beneficial to you.
Right. 100%. So, all right, this is my last question.
Okay, what is it?
Where do you see yourself? Because I want the people to come back to the channel and come back to the channel. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Good question. I see myself, like, I'm making so many plans right now. Okay, I see myself in 5 years. I want to have, like I said, I'm working on a team. Like, I see myself having a team to where I'm kind of managing them and like scouting for them, getting people for them. And also, like, I have other ways of getting people, like reaching people. Like, I want to be able, like how I'm here with you, like I want to be able to go out and reach so many more people and say, hey, you know what, let me have someone on my team call you, and I could just go out, like do like the head work, say, hey, you need this, like, because literally you do. Like, and I tell people, don't even think about yourself. I say, if something happened to like a parent, you know, what situation would that leave you in? Like, think ahead. Like, obviously, you know, that's a conversation everyone hates to have. And I get it. Like, I hate thinking about, like, if something happens to my parents, I get emotional already. I'm already, like, in my head, I'd be ready to cry in real life. Like, why? Like, nothing's wrong. Like, I get it's hard. But what is this guy doing? But just helping people to really realize the importance and just having a team. Like, I want to work with seniors. I want to work with children. I want to work with, you know, adults. And I want to have like a specific team member for every single department. Like, let me direct you straight to this person. Like, if you're a parent, let me direct you here. And adding on to that, what I want to do is I want to have like an educational something for children. Because I think it's so important to leave the money, obviously, make sure it's there for them. But what good is that money if all they're gonna do is buy like Gucci and they're gonna blow it off? What good was that?
Right.
So I want to find a way to create like an educational program for children that teaches them financial literacy.
There it goes.
So if like that money gets left to them, they know like, oh, I could use this money to invest in my business, invest in real estate, invest in whatever, like help children to have a vision besides, oh, I can buy clothes, I can buy shoes. When I was younger, my aunt used to sit down with me and she would be like, all right, I'm like 6 years old. Okay. She's like, all right, your rent is $1,000. Your PG&E is $50. You know, your car note is $200. She's like, how much money do you need to make in order to pay all your bills? And then she'll like make me literally like sit here, I multiply, do all the math, figure out. And she's like, okay, so you paid your bills, but do you want to eat? Do you want to have fun? You know, she's like, just getting little stuff like that that most parents don't do, because most parents are worried about providing for their children, you know, as they should be. So they usually don't have the time to do that kind of stuff. So I really want to create an educational program to help the younger generation learn these same things so they could be far ahead of us.
Right. That's awesome. That's what's needed. That's exactly what's needed. So let the people know how they can connect with you. How can they reach out?
All right, for sure. So anyone who wants to connect with me, you could email me at erikadozier@yahoo.com. It's ERIKA Dozier at Yahoo. Just send me an email. I help people see how much coverage do they need for their particular situation, see what types would be best for them. And I really like to hone in and see what would be best for each person, because I don't want to put like a cookie cutter thing on everyone, but we're not all cookie cutter. We all got our own situation going on. So I help people see what would be best for them and their families, and how to help them grow in the future. Like, I just want to see us all grow. That's it. We're all trees right now. We're little seedlings.
100%. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing what you got to share with my people. Hey, make sure y'all go get some life insurance. I need to get some life insurance. I won't even lie. I don't have it yet.
Oh, you know who to call.
Yeah, I'm on connect with you. So thank you so much for coming on. This was another Millionaire Mac Talk. I'm so glad that you were on. And like my grandma says, y'all, keep going and keep growing.
Yes, thank you for having me.